This is Topline Hotline with your hosts AJ Bruno, Asad Zaman, and me, Sam Jacobs, where we answer questions from the go-to-market community every week. I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on GTM in the go-to-market community, and I'm not proud of my address. In a torn-up town where I don't get GTM answers.
So good.
I don't know if that was good. I kind of
I
trailed off a little bit.
like the flow to it. There was a flow.
Thank you. It's a little Lord for you, little Royals.
What's your song that when you're walking around town that's playing in your head?
Oodalali. All right. The newest one is called VHS by a guy named Swimming Paul.
Okay.
It's like this dance track that I'm super into that I was listening to on my guy's weekend. And it's just like this poignant but super dancey song. I might listen to it after we record and go for a little exercise.
I have a friend of
what's
mine.
yours?
Yeah.
I don't have one that regularly plays in my head, but I have a friend who's a techno DJ. And so I was asking him this question. I was expecting some hardcore, like Berlin nightclub type of song. And he's like, Jingle Bells. When he's walking around town, Jingle Bells plays in his head. It's just
Catchy song.
Okay.
All right. Topline Hotline is a segment, if you're not familiar, if this is the first time you're listening, where we ask a question from the go-to-market community, typically from the Topline Slack channel, but sometimes other places from Pavilion Slack, sometimes from LinkedIn. And then we try to answer that question. Sometimes we do a little extra riffing. Thanks for listening. Over to you, Asad.
Okay, so this is an interesting one. Hi all. We're considering two initiatives related to the sales team with the hope that they're going to drive a performance-driven culture in our organization, and would love to hear ideas, pros and cons, and advice related to both of them. The first is, should we have a leaderboard for the sales team? Some say it's a critical component in trying to create a meritocracy and a performance-driven culture. But others, like Kevin Dorsey, have shared that people use it to look down to make sure they're better than someone versus look up to see who they need to go and beat and how. The second part is we're considering President's Club. Our C-level want to see a business case, and we're wondering what the quantifiable ROI would be of introducing President's Club. Would love some advice. AJ, you are our commercial leader, in-house commercial leader. You've also you do a lot of trips with your team. What are your thoughts on both of these?
We should have a top line leaderboard. That would be awesome. I'd love to see a top line leaderboard. Look down on you fools.
Francesca, please vote for me.
I'm a huge fan of transparency. I am a big proponent of leaderboards and a big proponent of ensuring that the teams understand. Here's why. Sales team is the classic case of you either won at the end of a quarter or you didn't, a month or a year, however you measure your quotas, unless you're STA and you don't do quotas, but most of us do.
So.
You have leaderboards. And so you know if you've done well. And what does that tell to the rest of the organization? It tells that we are an organization that fosters performance, that fosters transparency, that cares a lot about the urgency. And it starts with the sales team. And it's the easiest way to waterfall that to the rest of the organization, in my opinion. I think leaderboards tell a lot about a team, a company, and what they are trying to achieve. So yes, pro on President's Club. I actually didn't have President's Club at Trendkite. We don't have it at QuotaPath. Trendkite had a big enough team to do it. We just never ended up doing it because we had so many crazy boat trips and out of control parties at the end of a quarter anyway.
You learned some lessons. You're like, not enough.
You learned some lessons. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's true. Like literally, it was like, no, we're not doing President's Club. This is too crazy.
Stop touching people.
Stop being in the pool.
Yeah. Sam, what do you think?
Sam?
Especially
like Kevin Dorsey's point around leaderboards only lead to people looking down, not up. That felt weird.
I don't know if I just, that's a kind of assertion. That's the kind of assertion I would like to see some data for.
Yeah.
It's like a psychology experiment that I'd like to have some context on. I think transparency is generally a good thing. I don't know about Listen, if I'm going to pick one of those two, I'm going to pick a leaderboard over President's Club. It's not clear to me that President's Club is as motivating as people think it is, because, but also we have to, you know what? You know what?
What?
Thank you.
What, Sam?
Jesus
What, Sam?
Christ. Just some affirmation. What are we solving for? What are we solving for? And here I can give you some options. We are solving for, we want to double down on our winners, and we want our top performing reps to perform even better. Or we want to raise the bar. We want overall quota attainment to be higher. And I don't know, again, it's not for me to assert, I don't know which of those generates more revenue for the business. My instinct would be that doubling down on your winners is more revenue generating than trying to raise the average performance of everybody. But I could be wrong. I don't know the answer to that.
You are right.
If
There's a power loss to this.
If you're trying to transform the trajectory of your best investments, meaning your winning reps, then I think President's Club's probably awesome, because they probably really want to go, and they're probably going to push themselves harder. If you take the top 10% of sellers and say, this is what you need to do to get to President's Club. If the goal of President's Club is to get everybody to try and achieve President's Club, well, that's not going to happen, because half the people are like, there's no chance in hell I'm going to get President's Club, and I'm not even going to try. And I don't think President's Club is a thing that overall raises the average performance. It's a way of probably of retaining and rewarding people that are already at the top, and just making sure that they feel like they're being appreciated enough. So in that sense, President's Club might work. If the goal is raising overall quota attainment rates, meaning the rate of the percentage of sellers that hit quota, I don't think it has much of an impact, but I don't know. I think leaderboards are generally just a good idea, because I just think transparency is a good idea. And if I had to guess between those two things, that's the one I would pick. What do you think, Asad?
Take that, KD. Take that.
I love KD, but
leaderboards, I think, are essential in a go-to-market team. I think part of why I love go-to-market recruitment is that this is the org that it's most quantifiable if you've hired somebody good or not, because they're either going to perform or they're not. And I think people need to see their performance in comparison to others. I think it's motivating when you are, let's say, at the middle point. You can see what what the best ones are doing. And then what I've noticed in working with high performers is that the really good ones go and study the best. And they're like, okay, how do I bridge this delta? And that's the exercise that I think you want to do. And I think if you find yourself in an organization where your sellers are just looking below and saying, well, at least I beat these 7, 8, 10, 20, 50 people, I think you've got an organization with the wrong salespeople in it. I think if you hire really good people, they don't care that they have beaten people. They are just sad to have lost. They don't love winning as much as they hate losing. I can tell you that some of the most intense conversations I've had is with people that ended up being number 2 or number 3, and they're just sad that they won number 1 and are obsessed about becoming number 1 the next year. They're not happy that they beat 97% of the org. They want to become number 1. And so I think leaderboards are absolutely essential in a sales team. It's wild not to have one. I never see the reason not to. I also think of it as the following question. If you asked a top 1% rep, there's no leaderboard in this company, what will it do for them? Will they want to work there or not? And I think the very best people won't want to work there. Whereas if you say to a salesperson that this company doesn't have President's Club, but it has its accelerators, do you think they won't work there because they don't have President's Club? No, I don't think they care. I think they would prefer its accelerators to a President's Club, to be honest, because President's Club is a flash in the pan. Like, you're spending money to give me an experience, and it's usually the salespeople go there and they have a 2-3 day experience and they all get hungover and they come back. And it's like, whatever, right? Whereas accelerators, they're equally motivating because there's something to work towards, but there's financial upside to the rep that they can then use that money how they feel fit. So if they've got life goals and they want to work extra hard to make this extra chunk of cash because they want to buy a second property, I like giving them the choice to do what they want with their upside. And so I think accelerators are better than President's Club.
I love that. That's a great distinction. Can I ask one last question before we go?
Please.
What do we think about SKOs? Awesome.
I was talking to somebody at Microsoft who was he wasn't there anymore, but he's one of the legendary execs at Microsoft. And he was telling me the budget for the STO was $100 million. It blew my mind. Like, can you imagine $100 million like event? I don't think that if you are a small or medium-sized business, I don't know if it's money well spent. I usually see venture-funded businesses do it, and they think it's just must be done type of thing. I rarely see non-venture businesses that are not huge businesses do it, because I think you can achieve a lot of the things that people think SKOs are useful for. You can achieve them in other ways that are more cost effective. I think if you're a very large business, like again, if we look at a Salesforce type of business, $35 billion in revenue, I do think there's some sense in spending the money to bring the people together and create this energy around the kickoff of the year. Again, if you do it right, it can probably be impactful. And I think it's more impactful for companies that are at that scale and less for companies that are small and medium-sized businesses that should be spending money a lot in a more efficient way than they spend right now. That's my thoughts. AJ, what do you think?
Disagree. I think if you're a smaller business, I am very pro getting in person, setting the tone, really having the fundamentals, the foundation of what your team's going to go out and do and achieve and how they're going to go do it and what it looks like. Your comp plans should be ready to go, by the way, at that moment in time.
Oh, comp plans. Who can help you with that?
I think it's a really great
opportunity.
Go ahead, Austin. What?
The comp plan updates are usually your quota is higher and it's harder to make money. Like, that's an exciting way to kick off the year, right? Like like a get together.
Yeah, I mean, I'm serious about this, in that you can have a speaker coming in. It gets the team pumped up. I don't think you need to spend $100 million to do it. I think you can do it cheaply. I think you can do it effectively. I think it's really important for it to be in person. I've talked to a lot of sales leaders this year and last year, first time doing in person in 4 years. They all found massive value in doing it, and they need to do it.
Can I ask you a question? So I get it. I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, but
he said you can't ask him.
Why?
Sam's going to answer it for me if I don't. Go ahead, Austin.
Okay, AJ, is there a size? Quick question. Is there a size of team at which it starts becoming helpful? Like, if you have a 5-person sales team, should you do it?
Yes.
Okay. Second is, if a company is trying to be very cost effective, then do you think similar levels of energy boosting can be done by the CEO spending an hour with each of those 5 people individually, talking about the company's direction, talking about all these various things that happen over there? Can that one-on-one interaction that's hyper personalized between rep and CEO make a similar impact as spending that money and getting together and having one of these, people that haven't sold in 15 years to come and tell us how to sell, and then introducing a comp plan that's harder? Do you think that one-on-one personal interaction might be able to get a decent amount of that impact in there?
If you just do the math, 5 sales reps, somewhere between $500,000 to $1 million new business quota, you're talking somewhere between adding, I don't know, a couple million to $5 million of top line potentially. And if that's the case, you're still a small business. You're doing a couple million a year, taking $50,000, let's say, and getting the entire company together, because you said it, CEO, and having these mini kickoffs for departments, sales kickoff, product kickoff, marketing kickoff. You don't think that's valuable? I do.
I don't do
Massively valuable. Well,
no, it's not. That's not the question. It's not. Is it valuable? None of these decisions are binary. Is it the best use of your precious blood and treasure? That's all.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like,
I'm still going with yes.
Valuable thing you can do. If you've got $100,000 left in the bank, do you want to spend it on an offsite? That's the question.
Well, you don't have 5 sellers at that point, so I don't think he said 5. No,
you're like, is it valuable? Sure, there's incremental value to almost anything you do.
You have to spend $100,000 to shut down the company, so no, that's not the most valuable thing to do. Sorry.
Is it that expensive to shut a company down?
We've talked about this.
Yes.
You said it's quite expensive.
That's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Just like getting buried is very expensive. It should be free. I think it's a capital allocation decision, and I don't see the value, to be honest. I think you can spend less money and probably have a bigger impact on reps. But again, this is subjective to the leaders of the organization and the people you hire. I think you can build an organization where the people might actually not want a sales kickoff, because I can tell you, me as a rep would not have been excited to travel somewhere for somebody's design kickoff. I hated President's Club. I got into President's Club every year. I went once.
It depends. If I'm addicted to drugs, then I would be really excited for an SKO.
The amount of people that have been fired after President's Club that also should be tracked. Like when companies say, "What's the upside?"
During President's Club,
my
I know
God.
there's a company that won't be named. Every year for the last 10 years, someone has been fired on President's Club.
And they're still doing it. Wow.
Very common. Yeah, very common.
Well, this has been another great episode of Topline Hotline. Thanks, everybody, for listening. If you have an opinion on SKO's, President's Club, or leaderboards, why don't you start an argument in our Slack channel? I would drop an incendiary comment, make it pointed, target Asad or AJ or me, say something about how we look. That's because you're on our YouTube channel. But thanks again for listening. Thanks to our sponsors. Give us 5 stars and subscribe to the Topline newsletter. Join pavilion.com/topline-newsletter to get Asad's weekly newsletter. If you're listening to this on Thursday, it comes out this afternoon. So get it.
What's up?
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.